Hey everyone, real quick video on the notes for section 1.7 about rational functions. Rational functions are nothing more than just two fractions that are functions. When it's all said and done, you have a numerator and a denominator, where f of x and g of x are both polynomials. The catch here, g of x can't equal 0. Why? You can never divide by 0. So whatever you have here, whatever functions of x you have, the values of x can't overall equal 0. Sometimes 0 can be in the denominator, but the overall denominator itself cannot be 0. Some examples of rational functions are just 2, which technically in the numerator, you have an x to the 0 power here, because anything raised to the 0 power is equal to 1, over x plus 3, x squared and change over 3x plus 4, and you can see here how I have coefficients all over the place. Now, the idea of a rational function is no different than a rational number. Any rational number can be written as a fraction. This 3/5 gives you that idea of a numerator and a denominator together. Even if you had a decimal, like 0.66666 repeating, that just equals 2/3. So even though it's a decimal that goes on and on and on forever, the fact that it repeats tells you it can be written as a fraction. Now, when we get into the idea of what rational functions and end behavior, and I can't stress this part enough, the end behavior modeling of what we're going to be talking about for horizontal asymptotes, the idea of this numerator and denominator comparison is what we're going to focus mostly on over the next few minutes. Now, as we've had in the past, if you see a lot of abstract notation here, they talk about the end behavior for rational functions looking like this overall complex abstract setup for a function. The function of f of x equals ax to the n over bx to the d. Here, if you take a look, this a and this b are your coefficients of your terms for the numerator and denominator. And this variable d and this variable n represent the exponents of your denominator variable and your numerator variable. Notice that both of these only have one total value or one total placeholder in the numerator and denominator. And I'll show you more what that means in a second. When we're establishing what horizontal asymptotes actually are, there's three overall cases. The way we define an asymptote, when we talked about limits in the past, was an invisible line that a graph approaches but never crosses. And I said that was a blatant lie. The reason why that's a lie is because not every type of asymptote can be crossed. Vertical asymptotes cannot. Horizontal can. And there's a third type of asymptote called a slant or an oblique asymptote that also cannot be crossed. So we're going to focus today mostly on horizontal asymptotes. If you take a look here, for the first case, the leading terms have the same degree, meaning the exponent in the numerator is equal to the exponent in the denominator. An example to take this out of this crazy abstract notation would be something like y equals 4x to the third over 7x to the third. Notice again, I have an a and a b, my 4 and my 7 as my coefficients, and I take a look at my exponents here, I have x to the third and x to the third. The fact that these are equal, the step that can happen after this is the fact that those x to the thirds can be canceled, and I'm left with just 4/7. So anytime we're talking about or looking for what a horizontal asymptote does, or how it exists when the numerator and denominator have the same degree exponents, they cancel and you're left with just 4/7. Again, my a and my b, my a and my b. For the second case, to find again the horizontal asymptote, if my numerator degree is smaller than my denominator degree, or the denominator dominates the numerator as it states here, the degree in the denominator is bigger than the degree in the numerator. Your horizontal asymptote will be y equals 0. So, here we have 4x to the second over 3x to the third. Who cares what the coefficients are out in front? We're focusing all of our attention here on the numerator's degree and the denominator's degree. Here the denominator is 3, the numerator is 2. So even though this can simplify, we'll get to that in a second, this is my second case where we have y equals 0 as my horizontal asymptote. The third case, when the numerator has a larger degree than the denominator, I'm going to use very similar numbers to take it out of this crazy abstract form. Now, there's technically infinitely many non-abstract forms where you can put any number for a and b and any number for these exponents as long as they suit the case of being greater in the numerator and smaller, in this case, in the denominator. Now, if you ever have, after a simplified function or after the problem gets worked through, a variable left with the larger exponent in the numerator and a variable left with the smaller exponent in the denominator, it says it has the end behavior of the polynomial something here, or whatever that means. When it's all said and done, I'll show more what this actually means. But for right now, we're going to focus on what it looks like to find a case 1, case 2, and case 3 polynomial. We're going to focus mainly here on letters A, B, and C. Now, the idea of a horizontal asymptote is this invisible line that a graph's going to approach but never ever cross. And one of the focuses from before was talking about end behavior. So if I have some function and it's going to approach this value, we don't say that this value is going to approach this horizontal asymptote right here or even here. Notice how this graph is trending from left to right. It's actually approaching positive infinity. So every time we discuss horizontal asymptotes, the idea of infinity is going to be used. Now, even though infinity everyone looks at and thinks it's this crazy number, infinity is actually a concept. Nobody knows what infinity actually equals. Because again, as we approach and our x values get much, much larger, we're always going to be able to have that one number larger than the previous one we had. And that's again why mathematicians consider infinity a concept. Now, the math I'm going to show you up here is only possible because of this crazy concept of infinity. If I showed you a problem before, like f of x equals 3x plus 7, and I told you to evaluate f of, I'll say 5. You have 3 times 5 plus 7, and you end up getting 22. The reason why that's not that bad is because 5 is a defined concrete number. However, if I had f of infinity, well, numbers change, math doesn't. So that 3 times infinity plus 7 is what you'd actually get by the same operation of substituting that 5. This infinity being here is being affected in 2 separate ways by having it being multiplied by a 3 and added to by us, or having 7 added to it. One of these two has a greater effect than the other. And I want you to think to yourself, what has a greater effect? Adding 7 or multiplying infinity by 3? If you took $7 and gave it to Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos and said, here, does this change your overall net wealth? My guess is it doesn't. But if you took whatever or however much money they had and multiplied it by 3, that would cause a bigger change to this idea or concept of infinity than adding a 7. So that's why this 7 is relatively inconsequential or meaningless in the grand scheme of this concept of infinity compared to this 3. I was not able to cancel out this 7 because the number we had here was a 5, and that's defined 100%. So I can't go and cross out terms, or I can't assume this 7's meaningless in every single term. I can only assume this 7 is relatively meaningless when we're talking about infinity, whether it is positive or whether it is negative. This idea here of focusing on whatever has the least effect or focusing on whatever has the greatest effect is going to carry us through finding what horizontal asymptotes locations are for particular rational functions. So let's take a look. For letter A, we have the function 3x squared plus 4x minus 7. Now, in order to find a horizontal asymptote, we have to determine, first of all, what in the numerator is going to be my placeholder, just like it was on the previous screen. We had one placeholder in the numerator, which means we also have to have one placeholder in the denominator to create some ax to the n and bx to the d. So, in this numerator here, what has the least effect on infinity? Subtracting 7, multiplying 4, or squaring this infinity. Only one of them has to be kept. So, when you're looking at these problems and you're asked about horizontal asymptotes are going to approach positive or negative infinity. What has the most effect? Well, overall, it's going to be the squaring. So we can get rid of the 4x minus 7 and be left with only 3x to the second. And in the denominator, I need a placeholder. One of these two terms has to be left over. So I'm going to keep what has the greatest effect and lose what has the least effect. So I have a 5x squared. What I have here is 3x to the second over 5x to the second. Now I'm going to stay consistent and do the same math for letters B and letter C. What I have here is y equals 2x over x squared because I got rid of all the terms that have the least effect on infinity. The same thing goes over here for letter C, where I have 2x squared over 5x. If you think back to case 1, case 2, and case 3 from before, this is a case 1 example because my exponents of the terms that I kept are equal. This is a case 2, where my terms are my denominator exponent is larger than my numerator exponent. And then the third case over here, my numerator exponent is larger than my denominator. Well, now you have this brand new function. And technically I can simplify 3x to the second over 5x squared. So I get a horizontal asymptote location of just 3/5. Next, for the second problem here, I have y equals 2x over x squared. Well, if I'm going to simplify that, I get y equals 2 over x. Now, the second case talked about how this is equal to y equals 0. I'm going to show in a second why this equals 0. Get it? Why? And the third example over here, if I simplify 2x squared over 5x, g of x equals, you get 2x over 5. Now, they said that there was no horizontal asymptote here, or this crazy looking function. I'm going to compare these two here now. If I plugged an infinity into this x, again, because we're in this, essentially could have plugged infinity here as well. If I plugged an infinity into this x, what I get is 2 times infinity over 5. Now, by the order of operations, I do the multiplication first. 2 times infinity is infinity. Divided by 5 is just infinity. Unlike what we had, that's a terrible infinity. Unlike what we had over here for this 3/5, this isn't a concrete defined, that's a terrible infinity. Anyway, we have a concrete defined location of a 3/5. So my equation of my horizontal asymptote is y equals 3/5. I don't know where on the x or y axis I can say that this is equal to infinity, or where infinity actually is located. So for an example for case 3, there is no horizontal asymptote. Now, why is this second case when the denominator has a variable larger than the numerator? And again, technically that's x to the 0 because you have anything raised to the 0 power is 1. Why is this y equals 0? Well, if we take a look here, for a value of 2 over x, technically it's 2 over infinity. Now, we don't know specifically what this infinity actually is, so I have to assume it's just going to increase. Now, if you take a look at these denominator values, it went from 10 to 100, 1,000, and 10,000. So my denominators increased. The overall ratio here somehow has to get us to this y equals 0 location. How can 2/10 and then 2/10,000 equal 0 eventually? This is not infinity, but again, we're slowly approaching what infinity could and would be. 2 over 10 is 0.2. 2 over 100, 0.02. 2 over 1,000, 0.002. 2 over 10,000, 0.0002. Now, what is this approaching? What is the overall ratio, the entire ratio of 2 over 10 and so on approaching? As our denominator increases and our numerator stays the same, we're approaching what value? I'll wait for that aha moment. And we see here how because of this being infinity, this will equal 0 eventually on a large enough scale. So, for the case 1, it's pretty much whatever your coefficients are of your largest exponents. For case 2, it's always y equal to 0 when the denominator is larger degree than the numerator's degree. And for case 3, there's none. Overall, I hope this explained what horizontal asymptotes at least are, how they're found. We'll investigate these more in the future. Thank you, everyone.